Happy What We Watch Wednesday. We are here back again. It's almost the end of the show for us. They're teasing the finale already. Things are happening. They are coming crashing down on quite a few people. So these characters are going through it. And What We Watch is here to talk about it. First of all, make sure you catch us on YouTube. It is youtube.com/ at what we watch. YouTube links are a little bit convoluted, but if you just search Miss Petrino presents what we watch or just like what we watch in there, we should come up. So yes, make sure that you're tapped in on YouTube. I want to give this week's What We Watch Wednesday recommendation. Today's recommendation goes to the one and only, The Penguin. It's out. It's happening. It is also on Max. Am I correct? I believe I'm correct. It is also on Max. As we know,
Yes.
HBO Max. It is on Max, and the pilot had 5.3 million viewers. So if you're not tapped in, you're kind of missing out. Probably going to be a show we discuss, quite frankly, as we transition from industry HBO to Penguin HBO. So really excited about that. My favorite thing about that What We Watch recommendation is that very specifically, it is from the universe of the last Batman with Robert Pattinson and that universe and the Penguin from that universe. And so, very, very excited about that. I watched that film in theaters 3 times, once in 4DX. So, I mean, all my horror peeps, all my brooding Batmans, tap in. I'm hearing amazing things about this show. So, make sure that is today's What We Watch recommendation, and you will see more on that next week. So, let's get right into it because Pierpoint is falling. Pierpoint has fallen. Okay. Mount Olympus has fallen. Is that the term? I think it's a Greek. I think that's the right Greek thing. Um, Eric Chow, I don't even want to pretend like that's not why we're here. I'm here to talk about Eric Chow. Can we talk about Eric Chow? Teach, can we talk about the villain himself? Can you talk to me about him?
Well, he's not the villain. Everybody is the villain.
What does it mean that he's not the villain then? If everybody's the villain, then no one's the villain?
Well,
I don't think so.
okay, well, he is the villain, but he is a villain, not the villain. I'll say it like
I
that.
say
Um,
I say he's the villain of this episode. But tell me who else. Maybe I missed something.
well, a lot of people made plays to secure better positioning in this episode. Eric was obviously one of them, and his most dramatic. But everybody's kind of realizing that the tectonic plates are shifting beneath their feet, and they've got to find solid ground. And so everybody's just scrambling to try to cover their asses and end up in the position they want to. And Eric wasn't not even been the biggest villain in that meeting because if you remember, the guy Bill was trying to lay it at the feet of the woman who was really big into the woke investments. The woman is trying to lay it at somebody else's feet, and so everybody's trying to play hot potato with the blame. And you see, after Eric did what he to everybody else in that room do after they put Bill in the cab, they just grabbed everything else and put it at his feet anyway. Like we're fucking this guy over. Okay, well let's also blame him for those woke investments, even though we know it wasn't his idea. And they're just like fuck him. Like he's got cancer, he's gonna die anyway, so we're gonna blame everything on him. And so. I think Eric has definitely done some villainous things in this episode for sure, and this season at large, he's done some villainous things, but he is one of many villains. And in that room was a room full of villains, and he was just one of them.
Nem, what do you think? Y'all come up, don't be shy. Um, I think I think my perspective on this season, and quite frankly, probably moving forward in television. I was talking to someone this the other day about this perception of evil or villainy, and like, I definitely agree that everyone is a villain, but to me, um, can you really be evil if you try and you don't succeed? I guess you are to an extent, but I'm gonna need my villains to be successful. Otherwise, you're trying to be evil, you're trying to throw things down, and you fail, which I don't think you deserve the title of evil or villain in that case. It's not that you aren't, but I'm just not going to acknowledge the fact that you tried to be a hoe ass motherfucker and you failed. I don't have much respect for that. I mean, I'm gonna need you to be good at being bad. And if you're not good at being bad, then you know what I mean? So it's interesting because like we left kind of a little bit dangling with the Petra and Harper situation. It seems like Petra is kind of like, let me get rid of Harper because she's doing a lot. But like if she doesn't succeed, I'm not gonna be like, oh, Petra played Harper. I'm gonna be like, girl, you tried it and failed. So you're really just back to square one for me. You know, Harper is definitely a villain to me in the sense that she succeeds in all of her endeavors to take someone down. um, I think what's more important than intent is impact. And if you're not making an impact, if you are trying to be mean and you are not making that impact, I don't know. I'm like not impressed. And I tweeted about this. You know, I think there's like embarrassingly evil to where you try to be a motherfucker and it like doesn't work out. And then there's Eric, who's impressively evil. Because if we think about what he did, I, I mean, I put him at number two for TV show villains. And TJ, you talk to me if I'm overstating this, you know, Nem, if I'm overstating this, but it's Homelander, then it's Eric Chow. You cannot, after the last two episodes between Bill and Eric, you cannot tell me that a man that at the downfall of 150 years of Pure Point going to potentially Barclays, Mitsubishi, or wherever they were talking about, you cannot tell me that a man, I let you in my house. I don't know how y'all are about letting people in your house, but let me tell you something. You're not allowed in my house if you gonna play me like that. I will beat your ass. And they had a moment, like Eric cried upon Bill's vulnerability in his diagnosis. Eric cried. He cried. And then turned around and was like, yeah, it's what's best for the company. Like, now hold on now. Because you're going to get your ass beat right there, right before I get off this elevator. Nem, talk to me. Am I overstating this?
I mean, for Eric, Eric was put in a really hot situation, and I think he really just had to read the room and make a choice, right?
What
Um,
what was the hot situation?
the situation was, they're basically looking for liquidity, an injection from someone, right, to plug the hole. But there were different solutions with different levels of impact, right? So
Right.
they had the discussion with Barclays, which would have been like just a pure acquisition.
Right.
You had Bill with Mitsubishi, which was just going to be a kind of a money injection, right? Like Pierpoint was still going to fall off the planet with the Mitsubishi deal. It was just going to stop the price, the shares from falling for
Right.
like a short period of time. But he was still like fully focused on getting the CFO position and then just navigating the fall of Pierpoint from there. And then Eric's like, wait a minute. Because one of the things that he did was, remember, he made a phone call and he was like, how did you get on my desk again? And a light bulb went off.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, well, if we just need money to plug the gap, I can get that myself, right? I'm gonna call the Persian Gulf and get some money sent over here. It's gonna be straight, right?
Right.
And I don't have to play second fiddle to however Bill is feeling at the time, right? So like it was very. I look at Eric and Bill the way I kind of look at Yaz and Harper,
I like that.
like they're they're just younger versions of Bill and Eric.
And
Um,
female.
yes,
Younger women
and
versions of them.
yes, and so um, when it comes to like, there's a personal relationship and then there's the business, and Eric and Bill are a lot older. They're able to kind of navigate that a little bit better,
Mm.
and so. And navigating that, it's like, yeah, I feel for my friend who's dealing with this diagnosis and everything else. But I also know that my position, or Eric's position in this case, he's like, well, I'm the least permanent person in this situation. It's like, yeah, I can fall behind Bill, but I already know what Bill's dealing with, and his solution is not sustainable.
Mm,
So it's like, okay, I can blow this up, make a way for me, and and plug the gap for Peerpoint in a better way than Mitsubishi could.
mm,
So it just seemed like the way open for him after old girl got in his ear, with the whole useful idiot
yeah,
reference. So yeah, so that's how I look at it.
I
Like
like
Eric
that.
it was big villain vibes, but at the same time, that was a room full of sharks, and he was swimming.
Period. He was just the biggest shark to me because he succeeded. I mean, that's my thing. But I guess if you shoot enough, you're gonna make some of your shots. Tej, what do you think? Because I really like that parallel between Bill and Eric and Yaz and Harper. What do you think, Tej? Am I overstating? Because my thing is not the result. There's sharks from the financial perspective, from the investment bank saving Pure Point 150 years of the name and the history of the company. Eric was getting his bars off in there. But to me, it's that level of betrayal of gaslighting me, manipulating me, and using my own diagnosis in a very vulnerable moment and intimate thing that I shared privately with you to a room full of people. Um, yeah, I think if any of you were in that position, you'd be like, damn, I ain't never telling anybody shit again. And I just think that would be the beginning and end of that. You would never tell anyone anything again, like ever in your life. I don't see why you would. I would be completely traumatized by the situation. So, from a perspective of like, a room full of sharks and I'm the biggest, no. But from what the vehicle with which he was able to succeed, like that's super fucked up. I was shook. There was another scene I was shook about, but Tej, talk to us about that.
I think the way that it's written and the harsh nature of it is that so the mistake that Eric it was implied, or the mistake that Eric said that Bill made is not the mistake that he made, but there is an argument that his ailment actually did compromise his judgment because you let him in this world in which we're in. There's no room for this soft stuff. There's no room for vulnerability. There's no room to think somebody is your ally when they might not be. And maybe prior to getting this diagnosis, he was smart enough and locked in enough to know that he shouldn't trust Eric because Eric
Am I the only one that lost Teach?
Yeah, I lost Teach too.
Yeah, I lost one too.
We lost you a little bit, Teach. Um,
He cooking right now too. Can't
Right, I
nobody
was
hear
about to say.
him.
Teach, you might want to mic, like we can't hear anything you're saying. I wonder if you can hear us. Probably not if he's just saying.
Yeah, it's something weird. The spaces, it like cuts you into a different channel of audio.
Yeah, we had quite a hard time last time. But it's interesting as for Teach, I would love for you to finish your thought. It's interesting that perspective is something I was hoping to hear simultaneously just for the conversation, but also like dreading to hear that it's like I did you a favor, bro. Again, it's just if I put myself in Adler's shoes, there's a couple of things. Bill Adler is right his name. Bill Adler is obviously don't give a fuck about Eric. Let's be very clear about that. I don't want anybody to get Adler does not give a fuck about Eric. And Eric might have thought that for a minute. Wilhelmina is the reason why he realizes that he could probably take that little jab, right? He could probably take that little jab on Bill because he had that conversation like, babes, don't get it confused. This man wants to be at the top. He wants to save his own ass. But to me, that's not unique. Everybody in the room, Wilhelmina is on the same page as Bill Adler. She wanted to save her own ass in that room. Tom Woolsey, the new CEO, is like, I need to look good. Y'all all need to make me look good. So That was what was interesting. So don't get it confused. I think there's a good idea and understanding that every man for themselves, dog eat dog world here at industry and at Pure Point. However, to me, I'm gonna highlight the person that succeeds, because if you try to obliterate a bunch of people and you fail, you actually a clown to me. And I can't respect and label a clown as this like powerful evil thing. Like I just associate those things very closely with power and evil. If you're wielding your power and it's not working, you a clown. Harper is evil successfully. Yasmin is a clown. She tried it and she fails every time. It's giving clown. It's giving clown. It's not giving evil. And so Bill, lowest of keys, I think Tej is back and he can finish. But I think Bill, lowest of keys, might have been a clown in this moment. And now we can present, after your downfall, we can present that maybe the person that fucked you over did you a favor, which is very interesting. But Tej, go ahead. Maybe getting fucked over was a favor. We're gonna cut that for what we watch. Maybe me
Did
ruining
y'all hear?
your life was a favor. Go ahead, Teach.
Did y'all hear anything I said? I don't know when I cut
So
out.
you cut out about the time where you were like, it's we can propose the fact that maybe his disease, or maybe his malignant, is it a malignant tumor? Um, Maybe before that he would have known that these people are not on his side, and then you cut out.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like the writers are trying to show you that this is a dog eat dog world, and there is no room for errors, and all these people are sharks at the end of the day. And so it's a really shitty thing out of context, but within the context of this world, it's standard fare. Those people didn't even take a pause to understand the news that this guy makes a joke and move on with the meeting. Like,
Yeah, I think, I think this was a very vulnerable episode. It's called Useful Idiot. And I think that that's overall kind of fucked up. Hey, Sam, I'll let you speak next. Um, I think, Eric being the useful idiot in this place, maybe, but it might have been Bill that was the useful idiot. It's just like who I'm curious what we watched, those of you in the community, who was the useful idiot in this situation, because it appeared to be one person at first, but then kind of the tables turn. And I think I hone in on Eric because first of all, Eric has been the most evil person to me throughout the show outside of Harper, which is why we get those two big dogs there to me. To me, big dogs is Eric and Harper, and that's why Harper's success is so grand and so fulfilling because she's going up against Eric. If Harper continues to succeed against Yaz, we're not having these same reactions because Yaz is small potato. She's not big dog. But she's going up against the big dog who, to Nem's point, has been doing this for a very long time. He's seasoned in being big dog and fucking people's lives over. And I think that this is not the first time in this season, maybe in the last two episodes, that we've seen Eric kind of cook someone based on their vulnerabilities. Remember, again, when he cooked Yaz, he used her vulnerabilities that we have been teasing the entire season. Not teasing, just like presenting in general about the stories that come out about her publicly. He used that when he saw the Reddit photos of her father's mangled up body, crashing up against the shore, dead as hell. He saw that and said, another vulnerability I can expose. I love this for me. Let me use this to just fire her. If anyone asks, I'm gonna be like, did you guys see her father stuff? That's not good for the bank. Oh, did you get a malignant tumor? It's not good for the bank. It's just not good for the bank. And we got that scene in the bathroom where Eric Tao was like, or Tom Wolsey was like, yeah, what do you care about? He was like, a good trade, the best trade, getting some money. Come on now. If you ask me what I care about, I'm gonna get to the money, but I got a couple other things I care about. I'm not a fucking psychopath. But Sam, talk to us.
Hey, no, I liked when you're bringing up like the clown versus like who's like the evil or like really playing to win the game. I feel like Eric, for the most part, he's always been kind of not. I wouldn't say I never looked at him as a clown until you brought that up, but I would definitely say like there's been like a divide between like the gunners, like the people that are very zero sum, like it's all or nothing. And then like I kind of felt like Eric, I always thought of him as like being a little idealistic, like in terms of like how he was coaching like these people and like the best interest of the firm, etc. But you definitely see like a switch. Like I don't know, I kind of feel I really like this episode because if you're a Harper fan, you kind of feel vindicated in that like no, she's not the only evil person out here. Eric is just as evil, if not more. He like taught her everything that he like actually called her out for doing. He literally does himself in that episode, like in terms of like you said, taking advantage of Bill's, malignant tumor. He but it's kind of I think like the moment I feel like he switches though from a clown to like being a gunner or like where you really see like Eric for who he is that conversation in the bathroom with the I guess the CEO at the time. Like he talks about nostalgia and how like he's like it's funny like people always use nostalgia as like a selling tool, and I feel like that's when like he has this like click moment like oh like I am being used, or like this is definitely like not in my interest, and that's when I don't know, you kind of see a flip. But yeah, I definitely would say he started out as a clown, but now like he's definitely on top. I wouldn't say I'm definitely curious to see who's gonna end up winning in the last episode. I'm like, but yeah, that's kind of like what I got from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, two things. I think, the term useful idiot, which is the name of the episode, is, just another word for clown to me. Like, I mean, it's just a poetic way of saying clown. You a clown. You think that you are making an impact and making waves, and actually, we don't take you seriously. You need more people. But yeah, I love that. I think it was compounded with Wilhelmina's conversation with him, the conversation with the CEO in the bathroom, and Bill literally going off on him in the middle of the meeting. Let's not forget that. Y'all remember? Like Bill went off on him. So I think it's compounded in these like certain things where Eric was like, let me do a quick shift. And so I think I'm getting an echo. I don't know if it's you, Teej, or not. But I think it's interesting to see Eric. And I don't think I wasn't calling Eric a clown. Let me clarify my comment earlier about that. I was saying that if anything, he's the least clown there. He's the least useful idiot as we get further into the episode, because he actually succeeds. To me, it's clown behavior if you try to be awful and you fail. I can't give you that like respected, because to me, villain, I'm a villain apologist. To me, I'm gonna respect a villain because we're moving the plot forward and you're doing what you said you're gonna do. Now it's terrible, but you did what you said you was gonna do, and we celebrate when people are about that action, stand on business, and do what they say they're gonna do. So we'll wrap this conversation up. At Tej, I want you to get some last words in on like what the dynamic is, because I think it was brilliant writing to see how Eric went from useful idiot to the top dog, as the sun is rising up. I mean, we're talking about great writing, great directing. We see the night fall and things are very, very tense. And then the day comes, then the sun comes up and they're like, yeah, let's pin it on Bill Adler. And it was interesting to see that, because I think the daytime and the nighttime shifts show like express like the mood and the energy and like a new day, right? And I don't think any of us saw that. And Teej, correct me, if you saw it. I think that was such an easy out, but it was so easy that I don't think any of us as viewers saw that we could just use the sick guy and take it as a fall. And he's not just sick like he got, a little cough, a little RSV the other day. Like he has potentially terminal or, whatever stages he's at, cancer growing in his brain, not in anywhere else, like his brain, what is required here. So, Teach, talk to us about that. Uh-oh, you're muted. Okay. You're muted. There you go. Okay, I don't think Tej is stuff. So the next, Tej will come back. The next conversation I want to have is between Rob and Yaz. This was a triggering episode for me, guys. It's a triggering episode for me. How did y'all feel about the Rob and Yaz moments of this episode? Because I just got off of Too Personal Show with Joy Taylor, my girl, my sis, my bestie. She had me on the show. We had a great chat about vulnerability. And I quoted Industry HBO in our episode. Check it out. It dropped today, What We Watch Wednesday. Go ahead and check us out on YouTube, Too Personal Show. That's the number 2. Um, and I shared that, what we believe as vulnerability is very, very interesting, right? I already referenced vulnerability. I think that Bill Adler was being vulnerable with Eric when he said, "Come to my house. I'm gonna tell you about the fall of Pure Point and my cancer. Come on over." That's vulnerability. I expect you to sit in this moment with me, feel what I feel, have empathy, and protect me in that, right? And I think people think vulnerability is a little bit different than that. And I think it was so cool to have that parallel where Rob shows you and makes a lot of us, especially me, realize that vulnerability isn't being honest. It isn't just telling your feelings, and it isn't projecting your feelings onto someone else. It's sitting with it, expressing it, and being honest about it. It's all of those things together. And yeah, Nem, go ahead. I see your hand up.
Yeah, and speaking of vulnerability, with Rob and Yaz, um, and side note, I actually listened in on that Too Personal podcast, so I know what you're referencing. Um, Rob is just trying to kind of move forward in his life, right? And he's a softie for Yaz, and both of them know that. But Yaz, I think kind of alluded to it last what we watched, but she doesn't know how to accept care or process care, and so she, the moment she gets the chance to, she sabotages it. Um, and so when they're, getting out of there, um, I think she's still like navigating her feelings about one, the argument with Harper, as well as navigating the um, how she's kind of being held ransom by her publishing company to either be the face of the fall or like get sued anyway. And so she's like contending with a bunch of things, and she's just feeling the way she's feeling. She wants to just feel something else. And I think that's when, after she talked with Rob and heard about those psychedelic treatments, she just went for it. She just like popped like 3 of them, and
I like the way you phrase that.
she just kind of just tried to be elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
and looking for any remedy that anybody even kind of mentions or anything. And so, she interprets a conversation with Rob, and then goes overboard on the psilocybin. And that's just kind of the way I think she engages with people in her
Mm-hmm.
life. Um, she gets one whiff of something that seems positive, or other people, stand by, and then she kind of drowns herself in it, and then finds herself too deep and hurts herself. And I think that
Exactly.
this episode was kind of like a microcosm of
Yaz,
that.
yeah, I fully agree. Yaz is the creator of her own demise. She is the master of her own demise. And I think she's one of the most interesting characters in drama television in a very, very long time. And here's why: not because she's rich, and attractive to all these men, but because she believes that she has more. And when you're sitting with her in these moments, it, you know, I don't know about you guys, but you kind of want to believe it for her, and you kind of want and hope to see that like something will change this time around, and it doesn't. And so it's
Mhm.
really fascinating to have a character like her in this show, because she has so much power, seemingly has so much power, and that literally died off recently, right? Like we saw her power and her attachment and her kind of way to get in die. And then we find out like she maybe had something to do with it. And so I like the way you said that. She just wants to feel something else. That's all it is. And I think that's why Rob's comment hit so hard, because it's like, whoa, 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 slow down. Like, not only do you have a feeling and you don't acknowledge it or sit in it and you don't express it in a healthy way, but you are so desperate that as soon as you feel that, you want to feel something else. And I just love that intimate, vulnerable conversation on that pier. I really, really did. Oh, that pier point. That was funny. That's funny to me. Tej, I want to let you speak on that because I know you had a lot to say while that scene was going on. What did you think about, the perspectives with Rob and Yaz?
I loved it. I kind of like how we've been doing this push and pull with them. Um, and I really liked the fact that checked her that way, and I don't think she'd ever been checked in quite that way before. And the way she reacted to it, you could tell that it really hit home for her that this is her response when the normal person would seek intimacy and closeness. She will just seek to play the power dynamic game with them again. And Rob has reached a point now where he's done this enough with her where he knows he can call her out on it. And I just thought it was very well done. Everything with them has been very well done, and it's so fascinating to kind of watch the ebbs and flows of how their relationship works. But she still hasn't had a conversation with him about what happened with her dad, and maybe she never will. But I just love the way that they've kind of drawn that out this season, and I've always confused about where it's going to go, and I appreciate that. I thought they were going to finally have sex in this episode, and you were like, no, I don't think that's where we're going, and you were right. Like they did not have sex in this episode, so like I like the fact that I'm kind of on edge, not knowing where we're going with it. I find it to be fun.
I, you know, there's, and thank you for bringing that up because I think it's interesting. A lot of times you're right? I mean, and I make comments like this to Teach and other people. I'm like, if a man's writing it, a lot of times we may use sex in exchange or as a reward for intimacy. And y'all remember what I'm saying here. This is what we watch. Y'all remember what I'm saying here, okay? Because this shit is real. This shit is deep. And there are real people writing these shows. So this is fiction, but there are real people. The showrunner, Mickey, and I, we're cool. Like, you might see me at the next premiere. But I think it's so beautiful to sell, and I think we need to celebrate the way that they're drawing this out because, yeah, even in Shogun, which was a fantastic show, Game of Thrones, fantastic show. But when you have most often men writing these shows, you get the moments with Rob and Yaz, and a lot of times they end in this fiery, passionate explosion of sex as a reward or an exchange for these really intimate, vulnerable moments. And that is not how everyone operates. And it's not to say that's a problem. Please feel free to exchange and reward people with sex the closer you get to them in intimacy. But some people, like me and like others, we don't think that sex has to be a reward because we are so close and intimate and vulnerable and you just dragged me, and it just doesn't always go directly to horniness. But because human nature and people are very horny all the time, we can get to that point very uniquely and creatively and fiery, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I love that industry is like, no, actually, if there's anybody with some sense, if there's anybody with an understanding that we don't have to have sex. Number one, Rob knows what it means to have sex with her. And that was what was weird. While I'm talking, I'm really kind of celebrating Rob. I'm not really giving Yaz that much because she was trying to hit. I'm really just, my understanding of Rob was like, Rob did shrooms. Rob had a couple of awakenings. Rob was just doing his little skip across Pier Point when everyone was panicking. Rob has a new perspective on life, and he knows what sex with this woman means. And he knows that this may not be the right path right now. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to. And we acknowledge that. We acknowledge the teachers of the world. That's what I was getting at. We acknowledge the teachers of the world. No shade. We just acknowledge them when we had the moment where she was bleeding and in distress and he was helping her and his dick was hard. We acknowledge that those are things that occur. We acknowledge that these are feelings that we have, but we do not have to act on them. And I think that is so cool that that show did that. Sam, talk to me. What did you think about the Rob and Yaz scene from the time that we met the girl behind the counter And Miss Mama's, instead of sitting with her feelings, was like, why don't you just go fuck that girl? Which, look, I was a little triggered because Whomst Among Us hasn't said that. Whomst Among Us, all right? I don't like to compare myself to Yaz, but Whomst Among Us, nah, go over there and be with that girl. Nah, go over there. You good.
You know, I can't even. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I didn't blame her at all for how she was acting at the counter. Like, I knew it was definitely very extra, like
Super
out
extra.
of place, inappropriate. But gotta keep it real. I felt her completely. Like, oh dang, like why is she feeling my boy? Like, why is she asking all these questions? Like, you're a little too personal. But no, I definitely felt it. But yeah, it definitely hit me when he hit her with the, "I just need you to sit in this," like
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
I feel like we all. I feel like everyone. Like, I don't care if you've been watching since season one. I think it definitely hits you like, damn, like, because she has not done that not one moment, and finally, like, she has someone that can check her and that can like really see
Yeah.
the real her. But it was a beautiful moment for me.
Like
That
TJ said, like, I don't think anyone's checked Yaz like that. What has everyone said about Yaz? You're a talentless whore. Which is like, all right, okay, whatever. Like, but everyone has said some variation of people only like you because you're hot, and people only like you because they try to fuck you. And she's like, no, actually, I'm pretty good at my job and I can use those things. We talked about that in a couple episodes ago about how she uses her power and what's the difference between using your power and abusing your power, right? We've talked about that. So, to Tija's point, like, yeah, I think for the first time, Rob was able to check her ass to the point where she was doing shrooms in a bathtub full of water, which great approach. Cannot confirm or deny whether I've had shrooms in a bathtub, but if you're willing to, just be safe. Maybe not so much water. This is what we watch. Teach. What other scenes hit for you? Because I mean, I'm ready to go into Harper, but this was a loaded episode, and I think it was a very vulnerable episode. I don't want to overlook my guy Rishi. I have a soft spot for Rishi now because of the episode. I think it was episode 4. My Rishi. Why is my guy in a cast? What's going on? Teach, what's going on? Why is my guy in a cast?
That can't be made about the two random PeerPoint employees that were doing sex in front of we should
Hold
be
on,
going
your
through at this
audio.
time.
Hold on, your audio is like robot-y. At least we can hear you, but it's robot-y. Can you like go closer to the door or wherever you are? Because we can hear you, but it's just a little staticky. So if you'd stay in one spot and have your phone up. Go ahead. Dang. Can y'all hear him? Or is it just me?
No, I can't hear him either.
Dang, Cheech, we can't hear you. Go back to where you were. We could hear you. Okay, we'll let Cheech figure that out. You were in a good spot. Wherever you were when we could hear you this last time, that's where you need to be. Nem, what do you think? Why is Rishi in a cast?
He's getting shook down. That's why he got too many gambling debts. So
Okay.
he got some get back on one episode, but he owes more money than just to that guy. Like that guy has a gambling problem that did not get solved in that episode.
And I like how we very lightly addressed it. I think Anraj is his name. I think made one little comment. And you don't forget that Sweet Pea and Rishi been having sex. So, there's a bit of a thing there. But I think with Rishi, I love that. I don't think his story is over yet. I think we're gonna come back to him because where we are at Pier Point right now is very interesting. And I want y'all's perspective before we shut this down. Is Pier Point dead? Like, is it soul dead, right? Like, what did Eric say? What did Tom and everybody was arguing in that damn room for 14 hours? Is the soul dead? Is it dead? Are people about to lose their jobs? Or is it this premature idea where the employees kind of probably prematurely fuck themselves over because I think the word premature stands quite a bit for me in this episode because Petra, I believe Petra prematurely said some shit about Harper that's actually going to end up fucking her over and not Harper. That's my perspective. I'm like, Petra, ooh, you went a little too fast because you forget that man likes Harper a lot. And part of the reason why y'all are working together is because Harper did her thing. So, Sam, what do you think about the true, stage of Pure Point right now?
I mean, honestly, it. I feel like it's. I don't. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen in the finale. I think that's probably what we're gonna see in this last episode. Like just kind of like the walls like slowly caving in type thing. Usually, like when you see firms either get acquired or these big mergers and acquisitions, but Um, yeah, I'm not very optimistic about Pure Point, but I am optimistic though about, the people we've been watching. Like I feel like they're gonna end up on their feet, because especially seeing how Harper ended up, like, I'm very optimistic about, the people we've been watching, but as far as Pure Point itself, nah, it's the end of days, I think.
I, for some reason, think that Pure Point is okay for now, and the people aren't. So maybe we slightly disagree. I think some people are going to take some really big L's, except for Rishi. For some reason, I think Rishi is a lunatic. Rishi's going to be okay. But it's interesting with the Harper situation, right? Because if y'all remember Petra and Harper in the room, her name is Petra, right? Or is it? Yeah, it's Petra. Petra and Harper at the
Yeah, Petra.
house. Petra asked a very good question, a great question, fantastic question. How sure are you that that man is walking in there and is about to buy Pure Point? And she said 100%. And she was 100% wrong. Harper was 100% wrong. And I don't want to be a sicko, but I felt lots of things when the Barclays guy walked back in and was like, no, we're not doing this. I was like, ooh, it's getting hot. I'm mad. I love this. I love this. I'm obsessed. I'm just, television. Good television makes me feel everything, everywhere. But I think that moment hits very hard for me. And, Nem, you tell me in a second, because Petra was right. She was right. And Harper was wrong. And we've seen my girl have very, very high highs and very, very low lows. Sam, to your point, like if you're rooting for Harper, a lot of these scenes hit because you know what they mean for the girl. I mean, we just saw her fucking the bellhop, isn't that whatever he is, the waiter, room service guy. And he was like, "Can I come back tomorrow?" She was like, "No, sweetie, you may not come back tomorrow. Are you okay? Okay, no, you may not come back." So like we see my girl, big dog, 5 screens, hotel, fucking the waiter, goodbye. Like okay, girl, like okay, you got it. But then we see that like she has these moments where Petra is like, you know, babes, I'm better at this than you. And I think that we've and I told you guys this in the last episode of what we watched. I said, I think the dissolution of Petra and Harper is going to be just as swift as their, culmination. It is going to be just as fast. And we already saw it. Like the episode ended with she was like, "Hey, this not gonna work." They've been working together for like 3 days. What? Like what you mean it's not working? And I felt very vindicated in that moment. I was like, see, I told y'all, like, this shit happened way too fast, and people peep Harper way too quickly, and then she's wrong in this situation. She's gonna have to flip it around. Nem, what do you think? Harper took an L. I don't want us to cap today. I don't want no cap. Harper took a big L because she was wrong. Nem, what do you think?
Yeah, I think in that case, and I want to he was there to facilitate that conversation, but then, things go bad at the, um, I guess the regulator conversation. But I'm pretty sure that was like that was probably a backroom conversation for them saying, oh, Pierpoint's really about to fall.
Yep.
Maybe we get our own short in.
Yep.
Um, but on top of that, they are looking for money. They do have connections. And so I think as far as Harper making the assessment that money is coming in that door, I think if that was right, was he going to buy it? We don't know. Probably not. Um, but Harper's whole thing is like full conviction plays. She takes every step full conviction. She's like, oh, they're going to buy Pierpoint. We need to get out of our short. And that's the only
Exactly.
thing that matters. Like the same thing with her and the other billionaire dude, um, the one, not Kid Harrington, the other guy.
The one from last season.
Yeah, in the same way she was,
Yes.
she's like, I need to be full convincing, foot
Right.
on the pedal all the time, and that's her style. And so for that, in that case, it's like, yeah, she made another hard step, and it was a little inaccurate,
Right.
but Petra becomes a useful idiot because now she's running back to old boy,
Mm.
and it's like, oh, okay, you're going behind Harper to make this point.
And he likes Harper. She forgets.
That's what, yeah, exactly. So that's what I was
Girls
about to get
like
at.
Harper.
So
Okay.
she doesn't understand her place in this situation, and so she's about to play herself.
She's about to play herself. Nem. Thank you. Yes. I'm telling you, I loved that scene. Because let me tell you something. This might be a PSA for most people. Y'all be trying to talk shit and y'all be misassessing. It's a mismatch. There no. Y'all be trying to talk shit behind people's back and y'all forget like, oh, I actually really fuck with this person. I know you thought that maybe you was telling me something, but everything you hear, I am going to make it work for myself. So just so you know, you Petra haters out there, it's not gonna work the way you think it is. Most likely. But go ahead and try to, tell everybody how terrible a person is. It's probably not going to work out for you. And the only reason is because you don't know the relationship that these people have. And if you don't know for sure, and if you don't know the cadence of their conversations and their business, like just be mindful because you going to look crazy talking shit about people. And I think that's what Petra got her. She prematurely talked shit. Now you can talk shit eventually if enough comes out and it's like, okay, you see it yourself. But it's best to just keep it cute because especially with women like Harper, But I wanted to fully simulate this, right? Because Nem, I have to harp on Harper. I have to harp on this because if they did what Harper suggested, they would not be in a good place right now. And so it's not just about she made a little mistake. If Petra did listen to Harper, they would have taken a huge L because Pure Point stock price did not go to zero. And that is how they were going to cash out. Pure Point stock price stayed around the little 30 mark. And it maybe is up at the time as we speak right now. So remember, Petra specifically said, "Where is your stomach?" And I love that line because I think it embodied the entire theme, the thematic like statement of industry, where it's like you got to have the stomach for a lot of this stuff, because this is gonna hurt and you're gonna lose your stomach and you're gonna throw up and you're gonna feel empty inside and you're gonna feel like you're dead inside. But you gotta see it through. And we saw that with Rishi's episode, right? Like you gotta see this all the way through. My guy got beat up, got dragged by his wife, a couple of nosebleeds, almost lost his job, like all kinds of stuff in like less than 24 hours. But he got out of there. He had the stomach for it, and he maybe came out with a cast, but he's surviving, and then he put that money right back in. So I really liked that scene. I think that embodied, industry as this season itself. It's like, where is your stomach? Because to your point, Nem, Harper's play call was accurate. It was very accurate. That's exactly what that guy was there for, and that's exactly what's going to happen. It didn't. It didn't happen. And so this is where we see the benefits of partnership, so that if we can't go forward unless both of us goes forward, and we have this checks and balances. But what did Petra do? She prematurely started hating. And there's going to be a big lesson for all haters. Kendrick Lamar is the only one that's good at it. Kendrick Lamar, you've been doing great. You know, no shade, no tea. We enjoy it, and I think you've given a good name to haters. But not everyone gives a good name to haters. And Petra, you should have talked to your girl Harper, because I'm excited about the next episode. So, Sam, go ahead, talk to us.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I think Petra messed up, and you see, or we learned this episode, she's not a troublemaker. Like, she's definitely not like the others. Like, I feel like, especially when Harper started to go into this feel of like, well, if you think about it, they can't really tie it to like, how could it be me that got the info? Like, I was just in the bathroom, I overheard like, if you think about it, that's a lot to really explain. The burden of proof isn't there. They probably would have been fine, but she got scared and was
Yep.
immediately like, you know what? Can't do it. Let me jump ship. She's not a troublemaker, man, and yeah, it's definitely gonna bite her. So
I like that you said that, because literally when they were in the hotel to go and take Pierpoint down for that conference, he said that. He was like, I like you. You're a troublemaker. You're a rebel. What do you say? You're a whatever that word was. You're a killer, a monster, whatever it is. So many parallels to Succession. So shout out to the best television show ever made. There may be some as good, but there are none better than Succession, and that's why I say it like that. There's so many like moments where I get to feel that feeling again of Succession, right? Because we're basically going through like a merger acquisition right now, and that's all Succession was. I laugh quite a bit at like everybody that makes fun of us that watch Succession. It's like, y'all be so excited to just be four people in a room yelling at each other, and I'm like, yes. And it's so fucking good. It's so pleasing to witness it. Stack Sinatra, welcome to the stage. What did you want to say? Did you want to talk about the Petra Harper thing? Because it was great.
I think y'all covered that. I just want to talk about the Hanani girl. She going to jail. They are setting that up on that last episode. She about to do some time. Like she had her time with Rob. They had that cute moment. They about to press charges on her ass. It's about to get real crazy.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. Thank you for joining What We Watch. I don't know if this is your first space. That's an interesting perspective. That would be fucking intense, because my girl is spiraling. Okay, if you get cooked by Rob, and then you do a bunch of psilocybin in the tub, and then you have a choice to either be empowered, as she took that call from old boy that she was like, I knew it too. When he called her, I was like, ooh, Maxim is that dude from last season that she was having a lot of sex and doing a lot of coke with. I remember him. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna send you some stuff. I don't know if it's admissible. That's jail, baby. You're going to jail. Don't let this shit come out. You're going to jail. That man is out in the woods. He's out of these jurisdictions right now. But you got a little too much dip on your chip, my girl. This is America. You got a little too much dip on your chip. Y'all not in America, but we live in America, and we know that they gonna get your ass. And I love that they kind of shaded the financial, political, democratic, Republican kind of experience that those of us of this wonderful, complicated country experience. When he said she's a Democrat, she only pretends to have a heart. All right, let's relax. I don't need to give her no, 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 no,
Cooked.
no. Cook, absolutely dragged for Phil. I had to pause it. I said, "Damn, they really going in right now." They said here's what we're gonna do with the U.S. Here, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna ask for a bailout, and my girl stood her ground, but that hit hard for me. We are in an election season, and they said it multiple times. Notice that too. Like they are. Look, Mickey Down and Conrad McKay are acknowledging exactly what's going on right now, right here today, and they're like, the secretary of the treasurer, whatever it is.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that take of Janet yelling. That was so funny.
oh my gosh, she's just on the elliptical, just having a good time. And he's like, wait, appeal to their heart. He was like, man, don't let this bipartisan shit fool you. They just pretend to have hearts. They don't really have them either. No one has a heart over there. We just need to ask for this $15 billion and get the fuck up out of here. But, and what they say, we're in the middle of a war. We're in the middle of a war. In the middle of a war. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that because this is what we watch. And thank you so much for joining today. Oops, I see someone that wants to maybe say something. CFP, Professional Barbie, welcome to the stage. Talk to us real quick.
Hi. I was trying to speak when y'all were talking about Yasmin
Yes.
and her experience. I feel like the parallel that I saw throughout everybody's character this episode was all of them get on Harper about putting themselves first. And in the last scene of everyone's kind of arc this episode, we
Mhm.
saw them all doing the same.
Exactly.
Like they literally, when Yasmin called them and she was like, no, we're going to use it. Like, I know what it means. Like, let's do it. Let's go. Same thing. So I have a hard time believing she's going to go to jail because I think we're going to see the resolution of that. And I feel like the entire season has really been like, okay, y'all dog pile on Harper for being selfish or being ruthless. But at least she is who she is. And she's
Mm,
upfront about it compared to the way everyone else kind of wheels and deals, and then pretends to have a heart about it.
yes, absolutely, like a Democrat.
Yeah,
According to
exactly.
the show. I like that you said that. I like that you said that. Yeah, I think the jail thing would be very interesting. I don't know that I agree with it necessarily, but I think that'd be great. I think it'd be great to see Yaz at least face some sort of trial. Put her in that damn courtroom too. I want to see how she handles that too. But I like what you're saying here because I think that's what Tej was talking about earlier. That's what we were talking about. Like, is there really a villain here? I think yes. Again, because you have to succeed in your villainy for me to honor it. If you're just trying, I I, I mean, I guess you are evil internally, and we're gonna label you as that and stay away from me and my family. But if you're Harper Eric Tao evil, I'm like, no, like you are. This is impressive, and I actually will put up a lot of like protection to make sure that you stay away from my family. But like, if you try to be evil and continue to fail, I'm like, all right, bro, get a job, get a hobby. And I think to your point, everyone puts themselves first. And this is why I make that succession parallel again. Every single sibling at Roy Star Waco was for themselves. Don't get it twisted. Even when they try to do their little, oh, Shiv and Roman are together, and Kendall and Connor, or whatever, and Kendall and Shiv, it's like no one cares about anybody but themselves. And I find it so interesting to kind of select every episode who does have a little bit of care for someone other than themselves. And it's not even like, my little soft heart. I'm like, but how can they? Their lives are terrible. How can they possibly care about someone else right now? Like, they're all drowning. And I do mean drowning. They're all drowning in their own sorrow. And the only way that I don't have empathy is like if you're the master of your own demise. I find it interesting that people talk about Eric, everything he said to Harper is what he does to himself or for as himself as well, which is why he's able to see it. But I also looked at it and I was like, well, Harper, you over there tried to get on Eric, and your little clapback was, I heard your whole family left you. How does that feel? And it's like, Harper, you ain't got no family either. Your family don't fuck with you either. And is that your fault? Or is so? I just found it so. I found it so beautiful. But yeah, CFP, I agree. Everyone's really for themselves. Like we said, this is a dog eat dog world. As soon as you think somebody's about to have your back and that you can be vulnerable with them and you're going to be safe, it's going to blow up in your face every single time. And with that, please check out myself, Miss Picharino, talking about vulnerability and what we watch, of course, with the wonderful Illuminary, Joy Taylor, my best friend, my sis, and we had a great time on Too Personal. I have tweeted the link out. Just check my page and, tell me how you feel, because vulnerability is tough. And I think this industry episode encapsulated and encompassed everything that comes with the risk of being vulnerable. So we'll see you guys next week, and they've teased the finale quite a bit. So very excited to talk about that with you guys. Bye. Happy What We Watch Wednesday, and check us out on YouTube and make sure you're tapped in at whatwewatch.net. Ciao.